Hello, everyone, and finally we're back. Yesterday didn't work out the way we wanted it to be, but as it looks now, everything's okay. And Robert has sound. Erica's waiting backstage, so Robert, welcome.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Great,
Thank you very much.
great to have you back as always.
Good to be back.
Yeah, so a small introduction. We met. I met Erica when she commented on a show we did earlier. We may touch on that a little bit during the show. But first of all, I want to welcome Erica. Erica, how are you doing?
Hi guys, I'm good. How are y'all doing?
We're doing okay.
We're doing great. We're doing great.
Good.
So, Erica, do a brief introduction of yourself. Tell us who you are, and then go on to what you believe and why you believe it. That's always our first question.
Sure. So my name is Erica Hernandez. Actually, I go by Erica Moore. I have a channel on YouTube. I'm a writer. Yeah. So I'm just looking for God like a lot of other people. Right now, what I believe in is just the energies of the universe. I believe in nature. I believe in morals and being a good person. I tried out Christianity recently. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. And yeah, I do want to touch a little bit on how you got to us because you commented on what Robert and I still consider our worst show ever because we got a little bit triggered the show with street preacher Joeseph, and you stood out because you criticized him in the comments on that show. So tell us a little bit of how you got there and why you chose to comment.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I had recently just came back to Christianity with everything going on in the world. I'm sure a lot of us can feel the heaviness of the emotions just in the air and between each other. It's a very hard time for a lot of people. I've been experiencing a lot of insomnia, especially since March when all of this really started to take off. For 1 week, there was 2 days in a row where I was up for 36 hours straight. I
Mm.
could not fall asleep. And the last evening that I was up for that many hours, it was very heavy. The emotions inside of me and outside of me were very, very heavy. So I tried to go to sleep. I did all of the little routines you're supposed to do and nothing was working. So I just got back on the internet and started trolling around, looking around the internet and YouTube. And I ended up looking into Billy Graham, who was a famous evangelist. I don't know if you guys are familiar,
Yeah.
but when I was younger, okay, so when I was younger, I was a Christian. We used to listen to a lot of Billy Graham. So I started with him, and then I started listening to Ravi Alexander, and then I ended up watching Street Preachers, and I was just very, very hungry. I needed in that moment to figure out what I could do to help people who were feeling like me during all the heaviness of the world and how I was trying to find some direction so I could at least be of help. Um, and so that night, I just ended up praying, and I ended up deciding, okay, I'm going to be Christian. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to like not do anything secular. I'm going to really commit my life to this and show other people. I want to help people get to heaven. I want people to, be able to have peace so they could sleep at night because I felt like that's what this was going to do for me. So anyway, fast forward to how I got to you guys. I ordered the Bible and I started reading it. Now, mind you, when I was 15 years old, I didn't read the Bible too much for myself. I just depended on my pastor and the congregation to teach me who and what we worship. And praise music and, the sense of community that I felt in the church at that time was enough for me to feel fulfilled. And I think this time I kind of was looking for that as well, just the family and the community and the love, and to be able to spread that in Christianity was going to be the tool that I used this go around. So I ordered the Bible, and this time I started reading it for myself, and it was not making sense. The first thing that I read that really pissed me off, excuse me for using that word,
Okay, so
the first, okay, the first verse was one about women basically need to shut up in church, right? They're not to speak unless spoken to. They're not allowed to teach anybody unless it's other women and children. And then you read a little bit more in the Bible, and it talked about Jesus letting a woman anoint him, and I think in the chapter of Mark. So to me, I was like, wait a minute, if Jesus presents himself to Mary Magdalene, and if he lets a woman anoint him, and we're supposed to be Christ-like, then why are these apostles saying that women are supposed to shut up in church and they're not supposed to teach other men? If we're good enough to teach Jesus, why are we not good enough to teach our fellow men? And then I would go through the YouTube and I would start looking up, other people's opinions and different YouTube teachings on this. There's a lot of Calvinists that I listen to. There's this wretched radio. There was a lot of stuff. I dedicated a lot of time in this month trying to figure this out. So I reached out to all these preachers, and then I started reading other things that didn't make any sense in the Bible. So I just needed, and I wasn't seasoned enough, and I didn't have enough education to know whether what I was reading was right or if it was my emotion that was getting in the way. So I started reaching out, like literally emailing and reaching out to different preachers and pastors and street evangelists, and nobody reached back out to me except for the guy who was on your channel. And the message that he replied back to me, so I'll give him that. And I was in a very vulnerable state, mind you. I was looking for the truth, and I was very, very vulnerable. So I just kind of like unloaded all these questions on him, and he selectively answered back my email, but in a very condescending way. And then he threw in there, oh yeah, women, it says in whatever verse, I'm sorry, I don't remember, in whatever verse that women are not supposed to teach, or it's okay for you to preach, but it's not okay for you to teach. Like basically you can go and talk to lost souls, but if they know God, then you can't try to teach a man who already knows about God. Basically women are stupid, right? And they can only talk to people who are ignorant on the subject. So then I was like, what? Because I'm a writer, and I figured that Christianity was going to be the way I was going to use my writing to help people find God and find peace, and be able to make money for that mission, to be able to help people who are in worse off situations than me. So when that dream was crushed multiple times by multiple people, it started to crush my soul. And I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. This is making me feel worse now. So then I emailed him again, and I told him, I was like, well, what about, I want to be a writer and I want to be able to preach to people. Why do I have to shut up and keep this to myself? Because as soon as I decided to be Christian, I was texting all my friends. I was telling everybody I know, hey guys, I was having insomnia, now I don't. I started praying. Heaven and hell might be real. Let's figure this out. Trying to share verses. I have a bit of an issue with getting a little extreme and going all the way into stuff sometimes. So I was like, really
keep going. This is good stuff.
So
this is great. Please continue.
I fully agree. I fully agree.
Yeah, I can only go all the way in. So I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I was like cutting everything out. I threw away. Before Christianity, I was into paganism, shamanism. I just drew a little bit out of everything to try to fulfill my soul and help people as much as I can. I know it sounds weird. I'm a little bit nuts. It's fine. But I threw away all of my meditation tools. I threw away all of my books. The worst thing I regret the most now is throwing away my books. But I threw away anything that was secular or non-Christian almost immediately. And then I started telling my friends, hey, this and that. But I have friends, very close friends, that have a different lifestyle than Christianity agrees with. And it would hurt my heart a little bit to share the gospel with them once I started reading how much God didn't like them, the God that I was worshiping. And then that made me question, why am I worshiping a God that wouldn't let my best friends into a heaven? I don't even want to be in that heaven if my friends and family, who are good people, they're good people. If a heaven wouldn't let those people in, then I don't want to be in either. If a heaven's going to let somebody in who can rape and molest and, destroy the lives of other human beings just because they accepted God right before their last breath, or just because they decide, hey, I'm going to give all my sins to Jesus and be saved. If those people could go into heaven, but my friends who are genuine, legit, good people can't get in, then I don't want to be in either. But anyways, so he ended up reaching back to me. He was very condescending, confirming that, yeah, women basically can't spread the gospel. There's rules to this, basically. And then so I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But then what about this? And then I asked different stuff, and they don't give you direct answers, and nobody can agree on anything. So for me, how do I know if I'm doing the right thing if nobody else can agree on what the right thing is? How do I know if what I'm reading is right if nobody else is interpreting the Bible the same? I already knew that the Bible was not factually correct. I already know Noah's Ark is a load of crap. I already know that the earth is a lot older than the Bible says it is, but I have an understanding that this book was written by a primitive people who didn't have access to knowledge and information that we have access to now. So that changes the landscape of what we know as truth, which is fine. I wasn't looking to the Bible for scientific truth or those kind of facts. I was looking to the Bible for a spiritual context of the words within and of the message within. And I know that there's truth mixed with lies everywhere you go. You have to be able to decipher the two. I know that. But when I reached out to this kid, I told him a lot more honestly than I should have about myself. Again, I was feeling very vulnerable. I was feeling very lost. So I told him a lot more about myself than I should have. And what he came back with was kind of just confirming that I was a piece of shit and that I needed deliverance from the life that I used to live. And so then I started praying these stupid deliverance prayers that were very dark, honestly. They had a very low vibration to them, but I was doing it because I thought this was going to save me. And what did I need to be saved from? I don't even know. So then I was just, and then you start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Then I started feeling manipulated. Then I started feeling dumb. Then I started feeling pissed off. So then I realized you can never say enough deliverance prayers to get into heaven. You can never be good enough to get into heaven. You can never, ever meet the standards of Christianity in a way that's realistic or makes sense. And the people who are judging you, it's always a feeling of judgment and condemnation from these guys, even if you're a part of the congregation. And I'm not saying, I don't want people to misunderstand. Not all Christians are bad. I don't hate them. That's not what I'm saying. I think there's good people in every group and every religion, but there's a lot of unhealthy views that I think many Christians don't even realize are in the Bible because they're just, I don't know. But so what I discovered is that you can never say enough deliverance prayers to actually be delivered. You can never do, it's very confusing. It doesn't make any sense. And it was literally driving me mad. I was starting to have thoughts of suicide, and I'm a mother with a kid. I can't afford to lose my mind like that. And it was starting, and I felt like and I'm a very strong-minded person. I think, not to sound like a douche, but I feel like I am able to snap myself out of things. But in that moment, I was breaking even more. I was even more broken than when I found the word. And I also started looking into the science of this music because it is very chanty. I used to do mantras. I'm into some pretty boo-boo stuff, I know. But I used to do mantras, and music is almost a spiritual thing for me. So when I was listening to this praise and worship music, I knew that there was something. So I started looking at the science of it, and it's just, when you're singing and letting yourself be in that state of mind, and you're imagining that someone loves you so much that they would die for you, that they would do anything to keep you from hell. If you have that vision in your mind and you're singing these songs, it's going to bring tears to your eyes. It's going to make you feel like you're having a spiritual experience. But that's what I believe now. That's not God. There's something between our brain and our spirit and imagination that creates feelings, and that creates it creates an atmosphere that makes us feel very connected to spirit or the energies or whatever it is that's not logically sound, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Did I ramble on? I'm sorry.
You are just fine.
Yeah.
And I can't speak now. So
sorry.
Just so everyone, there's my dog is joining in the chat. So
hey, I love you.
He'll probably have more enlightening things to say than I will. But to fill everyone in, we were talking about 2 minutes before we went live, and me and Peter talked yesterday. I still think that the interview, I wouldn't call it an interview. I wouldn't even call it a debate. What you saw was the intellectual equivalent of a bar fight, where me and Peter walk up to the establishment, we pull up our bar stools, we ask for a drink menu, and some guy comes up behind us, half our age, accusing us of staring at his girlfriend's tits. And then when when me and Peter turn around and say, I don't think we were, but let me tell you something. Why don't we all have a good time? Why don't you and your girl pull up a chair? We'll buy your first couple of rounds. How about that? And instead of saying thank you, the guy turns around and takes a swing at our face. That's how that interview felt for us. And
that's how I felt watching it.
Yeah, and I will absolutely commend you for finding a piece of gold in that huge pile of dinosaur shit, because I told someone after it was said and done with, and I didn't even watch the whole thing because I just can't. Joeseph, Pastor Joe, he was not a bad representative of Christianity. I don't get to make that call. I'm not a Christian. He was a bad representation of humanity. And he would have been
Thank you.
He would have been an ugly person, whether he was a Christian, an atheist, a Buddhist, Zoroastrian. And so I tip my hat to you for being able to find something positive out of what I could only describe as the ultimate shit show. That was like the movie, the ending to the movie Roadhouse is what you saw.
No. Actually, sorry. Thank you for bringing me back, because I lost my track when I was speaking. That's okay. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. I don't know why you guys feel like you did a terrible job on that show. First of all, this young man, this preacher, if you look at his channel, he sets people up, he provokes them, he gets them angry, he tries to show people in a worse light. It's very unfair. So what you guys did, please, that is nothing in comparison to what he does. And with the way that you guys reacted when I came to your show, now getting back to how I got there, because when I started questioning Christianity, I needed to see the other point of view. I needed to see what atheists thought, what people who've been and have left have thought, to see if I was the only one that was having these issues. So that's actually how I got to your guys' show. And after he responded to my email about the deliverance prayers, I started to get an icky feeling about him. And so I looked his name up, and I purposely people going against him. That's how I got to your guys' show. Now, when he touched on the issue, you guys had brought up something. I actually love your guys' video. It helped me a lot. And I have to say, in the time of my darkest despair, it was are you both atheists?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It was 2 atheists who brought me out of that, not Christians. And so that, I don't know why you guys feel, you have no idea how much you guys helped me in that time. I'm telling you, I was like really going to crack. And when I watched the video, so there's a part in that interview where you guys mentioned something about rape, and you're just casually talking. You guys say something to him. I don't remember what the context leading up to this was, but it had to do with sin, I'm sure. But you guys asked him something about, what about women who get raped? And he was like, well, what about if she's blackout drunk in the bar?
Oh my God. Yes.
And you guys reacted with such fire in your souls that it was, and the way that he reacted, it was right quick. It was a quick reaction. There was no time to logically think it through. That came from his soul. That came from his heart, what he was speaking. And you can tell by the passion in his words, that was from his heart. So it wasn't him trying to be clever and, navigate a conversation. You guys reacted in a way that made me feel protected. And I don't feel that way often. So you guys are 2 complete strangers, and I wasn't even sitting there with you, but that speaks volumes to how you feel about the human race and how your guys' love transcends anything written in a book or, that's guided by religion. So I really appreciated that, the way that you guys responded. And because you guys caught on to something the same way I caught on to it as a victim. I've been raped. And when I was on the stand, that was something that the defense attorney brought up. Well, why were you in a bar? Why? And as a rape victim, you already feel, yes, you already feel embarrassed. It's a very embarrassing, and not just embarrassed, but it feels like somebody sticks their hand down your throat and rips your soul out. I was never the same person after that. Yeah. So when on the stand, they say things like this, all you can do, like, you're already embarrassed. You're already mortified that this happened to you because you're already blaming yourself. You don't need other people blaming you. Trust me, right? So when he said that and you guys reacted, I felt like protected. I don't know how else to say it. I felt like there are men in this world who don't think that way. There are men in this world who get just as upset as we do when something so stupid and asinine is said. So anyhow, as soon as you guys said that, I got onto the typewriter, and I'm like, oh, and then at the end of your guys' interview, you guys say something to the extent of, hey, we don't hate you. We know we have different views. We appreciate you guys coming on the show. And it was genuine love, because love is an action, right? It's how you treat people. It's not just a feeling that we have. You guys showed genuine, true love at the conclusion of that conversation. And he was just a snarky little shit about it. And so I was like, and so I wrote in the comments, I was like, these guys have a better understanding of Ephesians 6:12 than most of the Christians that I ran into in this community. And this is when I'm still about, basically at the end of my journey, but it was about 30 days of being a Christian. But I had felt the same thing that you guys were feeling, because I was looking through your guys' comment section, and people are attacking you. Somebody said something, a Christian said something to Robert, well, not to him, but a passive aggressive comment like, oh, the black guy is something. And I'm like, what does his race have to do? What does the color of his skin have to do with the point that he was making? And then I look a little bit further, and there's these other people are just jumping all over Peter, like, oh, I'll give you a perfect example. One guy, the conversation gets a little going, and one guy calls Peter a crackhead. And I know he's just trying to throw a diss, but it made me sick, because it's true in the Bible what they say about the tongue speaking life and death. You have to be careful what you say to people. You're affecting people's soul with your words. Words carry something. You know what I mean? So I feel like, especially as Christians, you should be a lot more mindful accusing somebody. And we all care about our reputation. And who are you to say something so vile and disgusting when there's no reason to accuse somebody of that? There's no reason to even assume or make anybody else think that somebody has a drug issue. And not even 2 sentences later, this kid says, oh yeah, I used to be addicted to drugs and I used to push them. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So you're projecting onto other people the things that you're supposedly have been forgiven for, and you think that's okay. This is disgusting, because the whole law of the Bible, correct me if I'm wrong, like I said, I'm not an expert on this, but from what I understood, all the commandments, everything can be summed up in 2 laws. Love the Lord your God and put nobody else before him, and love your neighbor as yourself, right? 2 parts of the law, from what I understand. So how can he violate a whole half of the law just in how he treats and condemns other people? That's not a Christian. Then what is a Christian? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. So after I wrote on that about Ephesians 6:12, you guys understanding that, for people who may not know, Ephesians 6:12 just talks about this not being a battle between flesh. It's not man against man, but against principalities. It's a spiritual war, about, our ideologies. It explains itself. But when I had said that, he emailed me and he said, "Hey, sister, I know that you're new to the faith and you're young in Christ." He's basically saying I'm an idiot. And then he says, "But I'm going to need you to I'm going to ask you to take down those comments you wrote on that guy's channel, on the atheist channel, because you're going to make people think that they have a better understanding of the Bible than we do. And as Christians, we have to stick together, even if people don't agree with us." And that's where I put my foot down, because right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't give a shit what books you read. I don't care what your preacher tells you. I'm not going to be persuaded into bullying or violating my own morals. I'm not going to do that. So that was pretty disgusting, that he even emailed. But I did it though. I erased the comment because I just let myself get manipulated, and then I felt really dumb for letting myself get manipulated, and that was the last thing to piss me off, to decide this just is not for me.
Wow. So right now, right as I'm getting ready to cue this up, I can't see it right now, but I'm sure, I don't think I've gone through a single YouTube discussion or debate without bringing up what it is I do for a living. I'm a self-defense teacher. You should be commended. You and I just met, and I can't tell you how many people are in the side chat right now. You coming out with your story takes a backbone like lumber. You should be commended for being able to get on the mic, because whether you realize it or not, you have helped somebody. You have helped someone by simply telling your side of the story. And please tell me to shut the hell up if I'm going too deep. But that okay. Part of that interview, the dumpster fire, as I call it.
And that was so good. I thought it was amazing.
Well, I'm truly, to my heart, I am glad you found something positive. But I brought up, at least from my point of view, the Christian justice balance scale isn't balanced at all. Where you can go, and you just said it yourself, you can go an entire lifetime, 79 years of being a burden upon society. And on your last year of life, you can repent and you get to go to heaven. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I was the one who brought up, well, what about rape? What if the rapist is a Christian and the victim is a Muslim? Let's say she passes away from that encounter. She goes to hell, he goes to heaven. And I asked him, does that make that a just system? And then you saw the rest, and you're absolutely right. That's when he said, what if she's blackout drunk? My response was, it doesn't matter if she's blackout drunk, right? And I would think that would be the end of the conversation, whether you believe in a God or you don't. But he pushed it way the hell over there. And so again, I'm truly applauding you for finding something positive out of that just Tim Carl pileup, because that was, again, he was a bad representation of humanity. And again,
humanity.
Yes, and I will say it one more time. I commend you for coming on this show and talking to 2 people that you just met. I don't know how many hundreds of people are going to watch this afterwards. Again, to tell your story means some other person is going to hear it.
Exactly.
And now they're going to feel strong enough to come forward. And one more thing, I used to have an assistant for my self-defense classes. Georgette was the first woman I ever promoted to purple belt. And in my system, purple belt, I don't care about your forms. I don't care about how good your punches are. All I want to know is, can you fight? And she sat there and she fought her ass off. I've never been more proud to give someone a purple belt. And so she was my assistant, not because just that. In college, she was a rape survivor. the first 15 minutes of every self-defense seminar I used to do, I would sit Georgette down. And Georgette would tell 30 women her story. And you could feel the energy in the room change when she finished. Because if there's 30 women in a self-defense class, at minimum, 8 to 10 have gone through something terrible. The moment they realize they're not the only person in that room, and like you said, it's one of the few crimes, if not the only crime, to where the victim feels humiliated. Where if I walk out of my house after this and I'm hung from a pine tree, no one's going to ask, what was Robert wearing? What he must have asked for that lynching. Sexual crimes are unique in that it's, in my opinion, the only crime where we turn around and say, well, what was the victim's problem? Right?
Exactly.
And again, the fact that Georgette would get up and tell her story, and just the women would just relax. And so again, I'm all over the place because this is, I can speak for Peter, an incredibly emotional topic.
Yeah.
Apparently for all three of us.
Yeah.
And so again, I give you the A-OK for coming on here and talking to us and telling your story. Again, you help somebody whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, and I don't know if I told you, Erica, but I was in a relationship with a woman for 10 years. A woman who has been raped, I can't say hundreds of times over a period of 20 years because her husband used to bring guys home to have sex with her. So I know a lot of what someone like that feels. We talked an awful lot. It didn't work out. Due to that, she couldn't be in a relationship, and that is what finally ended it. I went through all of the struggles that she had. I know that she, even 10 years later, she still blamed herself. Often enough, when she was feeling low, she did blame herself. It is, you don't need to blame yourself because it isn't your fault. It is, you are the victim. And I know that in society, the first question is, what was she wearing? Did she say no loud enough? That shouldn't even be a question. You need to know your boundaries. This is as far as you go, and you don't cross that line. And what you do to someone in a case like that is you will scar them for life, and that will be something that will be really hard to put. You'll never forget it, but to put it aside and to pick up life. So, and that's probably the reason why both Robert and I got so mad with Street Preacher Joe, because we've seen the effects close up, both of us. So this was kind of personal. This was
and I
personal.
could see that.
And so when someone tells you a story like that, the first thing you do is reach out and see how you can help. That is just the humane thing to do.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a question what you need to do. So, and I really commend you on telling your story, because as Robert said, I know for a fact that every woman who stands up and tells her story will be able to help someone else, whether it be seeking help, whether it be getting some strength for herself. There's no negative things about it. I know it takes a lot, and I know it takes a lot of courage to tell a story like that. So for that, I would really want to commend you. That
Absolutely.
and we had some comments in the side chat, and one of our oldest viewers, and in not in age, but in the time when she joined us, Beach Price, said she has such passion. And the moment she wrote that, I was thinking, I want her as a guest every week. I mean, we need guests like this. But
Absolutely.
yeah, And
Well,
the fact that you got so disappointed, I'm really sorry. I can't say how sorry I am that you got so disappointed in the people you turned to.
Yeah.
well, listen.
That-
I mean, oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Oh, okay. No, I was just gonna say, listen, some disappointment such as life, right? We get disappointed, but I don't know why. I wish you guys would stop beating yourselves up. If anybody doesn't like that interview, that video, they're just gonna have to deal with it, because that helps me more, and that's gonna help a lot more people than you guys even realize. It's those real raw conversations with those reactions that show us that give us a view into the soul of a person. I don't care whoever believes in, you can see a soul of a person by the way that they react, by the way that they speak, their instant reactions. And just like that young lady on your comment said, by their passion. That's what I get from you guys. You guys helped me more than you will ever know. It's worth going through the disappointment if you run into the help that I ran into through you guys. You guys won't understand how much that actually helped me. Just seeing you guys come to the defense of people that you didn't even know. There wasn't even a specific person for you guys to defend. It's what you guys keep saying. It was humanity. It's because you guys are good people that you guys reacted and defended people that you don't even know. You guys don't have any idea who I am. You guys never knew that I would be watching that video. I'm glad you didn't erase it, because if you would have erased it, I might have really had a nervous breakdown if I would have never found any other help, any other way outside of the place that I had taken myself to.
That's all right. Wow. Wow. I'm moved. I'm absolutely moved.
Me too.
To get to a point where, you got the big guy speechless. That's something else. Again, that's thanks for saying those nice things. Honestly and truly, it sounds like we're kind of helping each other out, because again, you're right. Yeah, it wasn't a bad interview. It was, how do I say it? I guess it was the best we could do with what we were given. Because our pregame show, for anyone in the side chat who doesn't know how this works out, you call in about 15 to 10 minutes early. You got one person checking all the equipment. Everyone's getting to know each other, and we had a good back and forth. There was an energy. There was a chemistry. When Joeseph called in, this is what it was like. Dialed in, it was like, "Hey, Joeseph, I'm Robert. How are you?" Fine. Well, man, we're gonna, have about a 90-minute, 2-hour interview. We're gonna talk about this, and this. Is there anything that you want to go over? No. Well, he was ice cold from the start, and you can tell immediately either it was just going to be hard to get words out of his mouth, or he was just going to be a total asshole. Mm-hmm. Turns out it was option B, because again, I still can't watch all of that dumpster fire. He was the one who threw out the first punch, because we were talking about things like evolution or something, and fine, there's definitely a portion of Christianity that doesn't accept evolution, that thinks honestly and truly a God sat on high and just said giraffe, dinosaur, elephant. Yeah, fine. Just say I don't accept evolution and we move on. Instead, he threw out the first jab, and I think this is a word for word quote, something about it all makes sense in your tiny little mind. And he said it in such a way where he was talking down to me and Peter. Yeah. And that's when I was like, okay, science is exciting, but science shouldn't be a prejudice topic. You either accept that the boiling point of water is X, or you don't. But you don't say, well, if you believe it's this, you're fucking stupid. And that was his approach. And so just like, oh, this is going to be hard. This is going to be and it was a hard interview. But again, I'll say for the 10th time, the fact that you got something positive out of it, I think I can speak for Peter when I say that it made it worth it. So I'm glad you got something positive out of 90 minutes of me and Peter losing about 5 years off the back end of our life having to deal with that asshole. Because again, I don't think it's a bad representation of Christianity. He's just a bad representation of humans.
And
I'm embarrassed to call him one of us.
and when it
Right,
comes
exactly.
when it comes to pre-show chats, he wasn't the worst. I still think Matt Powell was the worst. But the moment that I said
Oh my God!
I'm going to set it to live, he just had to ask, "Are any of
Yep.
you homos?"
Yep.
Just to
Oh
set the
yeah.
tone, just before we went live, at a
Yep.
moment where neither of us could respond. So, mm,
It's,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
So,
They're
but
disgusting. That's so
if I may
disgusting.
ask, because I think you touched on it, you said you spent some time as a Christian as a child. Then it sounded like there was this
Yeah.
void of space. What made you go from belief to at least not Christian belief? Pardon me, back to Christian belief. Talk me through that road, please.
Yeah, I don't even know myself. I think, with everything going on, and I can be a very, I guess, I guess I'm the most sensitive person in the world now. But with everything going on, so with the news and everything, I'm a person that really wants to know what the truth is. So I started looking up. In my mind, it was already Mad Max, the end of the world apocalypse, right? I was thinking this was going to be a lot worse than what it was. I was looking into conspiracies. I was looking into science. I was looking everywhere for the truth, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I was like, well, I know that when I was a Christian, when I was a kid, even though, whatever, I know that I was able to use Christianity to influence, or to try to influence people to love each other and be better people. And at that time, I felt like the world was void of love, and I just wanted to do my part to be able to do it back. And that might have just been inside of me only. It might have been that only inside of me things were as desperate as they were, and I was feeling, I don't know, but I just decided Christianity. I don't know why, to be honest with you. God, what a waste of a month, honestly.
can
Yeah.
I throw out that maybe you were looking to that in order to find the good parts of it?
Yes.
Because obviously
Yes. Oh,
that is what
yes.
a lot of people who do preach say, that it is the God of love, and then
Right.
a lot of the experiences point otherwise, and that's
Right.
why I have a trouble. So our other co-host is in the side chat as well, Lilith, and she said, "Tell Erica Christianity is an abusive relationship," and I would agree with
It
that.
is.
I would agree with that. So,
Wow.
and we have a question from Beach Price, and she said, if you didn't think you have a soul, would you still be going through all of this? Is that a part of why you searched?
I definitely think I have a soul. Because there are things, and I read a lot, and I know sometimes the stuff that I do doesn't make any rational sense. And I know there's a lot of stuff that, a lot of rituals, I guess, and a lot of spending time in nature that I do that people would think is really strange and weird, because when you think about it logically, it is. But there is something, I definitely feel that I have a soul for sure. I feel like we all do. I'm not sure. I don't believe that God is a man. I don't believe in religion. I think religion is more designed to just condemn and control. It's what it feels like. But I definitely feel like I have a soul, and I would definitely be searching no matter what. I would probably, because I've looked into some paganism things, some shamanism. I've looked into Buddhism, a few different things, not into so much depth, but yeah, I do think that I do believe I have a soul, and that is why I try to use Christianity to figure out how to locate it exactly, and what was the way to best grow it, or find my soul tribe, I guess.
And so my question would be, you said you recently converted back to Christianity. At least that's what I got from our earlier talks. So what did you identify as before?
How did why did I feel like that was going to be the right choice? So I had
No,
identified Christianity.
No, what were you before you converted back to Christianity? Were you still somewhat of a Christian, or did you identify as something else? What did you identify as?
I didn't identify as anything. I'm a big reader. I do a lot of shamanism, so I practice with plants, salvia, plants. And I read a lot. I read. I know. I thought you guys were gonna think I'm nuts.
No,
I read a lot.
I was laughing at something else. Keep going.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Okay. No, I don't identify as anything. I just try to look for the truth that anywhere that I just try to be a good person, man. And if anything, shamanism, I would say shamanism is the one thing that I probably connect most to, and that's more having to do with nature and like ancient spirits and using plants and to go into the darker parts of ourselves and face our demons, as it were. Yeah, I don't identify with any. I haven't been. When I left Christianity, I just completely left it and thought it was a bunch of nonsense. Yeah.
So one, I'm going to work backwards. I like experimenting with plants as well. Just
no way.
Well, Peter knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's a certain kind of plant that is not, let's just say, not legal in Texas. So yeah, I maybe that makes me a shaman as well, because there's one plant in particular which I really love, and
I'm in the country where it's legal, and it doesn't work for me. I tried it twice. It doesn't work.
If by twice you mean have I tried it twice before this interview? Maybe. Maybe. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because Lilith, I think both she and I have said this before, that from my point of view, Christianity is an abusive relationship. And then I heard you agree, but I think you also told me that you're a Christian as well, like now. So why would you hitch your wagon onto that Stark if you say that it's an abusive relationship?
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely not a Christian.
You're not a Christian, then I take that back. I take that back. Okay.
Yeah, no. Please, no, not a Christian. Nobody believe that.
Got it. Okay. My mistake. No,
that's okay. Yeah, okay. No, that's okay. No, I'm not a Christian.
Okay. So the God that you believe in, talk to me about this being.
Okay, so it's not a being. What I believe God to be is energy. That's it. I believe that God is just the energy that it's both life and death. And I think that most of the books, the religious books that I read, would agree with me on this. And I think the Bible even says that in so many words. The Bible, I'm a writer, so I read things for not just the words, but the poetic and spiritual, like I said, meaning to them. And I think when you read things that way, it's always just yourself exposing itself. But I think that God is the energy of the universe. I can't explain it. I have no idea what it is. I know that it exists. It's not a person. There is no, at the end of the day, when we die, death begets life, right? Destruction breeds creation. I think that you can't have one without the other. You can't have light without the dark. We just have to learn to navigate the earth as best as possible and to be able to use the energies of the universe and the energy of ourselves to reinforce the light. And if whenever we run across the dark, then we have to learn to navigate and overcome that as well. But what I would say that God is just energy. God is energy. God is both life and death. It's everything that encompasses what it is to be alive now here on this earth. And we'll see, beyond if there's anything after. I don't know. But That's what I think God is. It's energy.
So pardon me. A little bit about myself. I grew up pretty hardcore religious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've read the Bible back to front more than once. Bible study was pretty intense, and punishment was one of two things, sometimes a mix: a beating and memorizing Bible verses. So you just had it really shoved down your throat. I'd probably say I took the same path as a lot of debate-worthy atheists, that the moment you kind of realize you don't believe in this stuff, you step on the gas pedal. You're pissed off. You realize you've been lied to, and you got a lot of time to make up for, and a lot of apologies to make. If I had $1 for every time I called a gay person a faggot and told them that they chose their sinful lifestyle and you're going to go to hell because this asshole behind me, on the pulpit told me to tell that person that. So my point is, 7 years ago, I would have stepped on the gas pedal with you, with the whole, God is energy and all. Now I can simply say, whatever, one, gets you out of bed in the morning, and two, if your version of God, universe, energy, if it only helps you, if it only makes you do good things, I can honestly tell you, I don't give a shit. Right? I remember one of the more positive influence in my life was my high school football coach. And I hate to sound like that guy who's bringing up his glory days of high school football, but he told us his mission was to make good people, not necessarily to make good football players. Now, it just so happens we were very successful, but Coach Rutledge, his main goal was to make good people. And the team rule book was 1 page. I can't count, 2 to 3 sentences. And it was, if what you're getting ready to think, say, or do makes you a better person, I could care less. If what you're getting ready to say, think, or do doesn't make you a better person, then it just became a rule. And that was our entire rule book. Everyone else in my district, had this 99-page, you can't smoke, you can't drink, you can't have sex, you can't do that. And those were only rules. And my point in bringing that up is, again, if your version of God only makes you help little old ladies across the street, reach top things at a grocery store shelf, makes you a better mom, then you do that. And you don't need me here to give you permission to do that, but it really sounds like your version of God just makes you a better person. So if that's the case, go ahead on. I'm glad you found something that makes you comfortable, and it sounds like it's putting you on the path for improvement. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
What you just said should be Bible. That should be Bible. That's because that simplifies everything, right? Is what you're going to do going to make you a better person or a worse person? Are you going to affect people in a positive way or a negative way? That should be Bible. That should be every religion. That should be everybody's.
Did an atheist just make up a Bible verse?
Yes!
I'm going to start my own religion. Yep. I got to figure something catchy to call it.
I mean, Eric Murphy has the book of Eric. So
the Book of Eric. So what trying to think? Well, let's call this one the Book of Bubba. This is on the first day, Bubba created the rule book, and it was good. Yeah. And the Bubba rule book simply says, "Don't be an asshole." We're gonna call it the Book of Bubba from here on out.
Don't be an asshole, and if everything fails, a belly rub, Robert.
Pretty much. I've always said, if the world was half as happy as my youngest dog, there would, 1, be no problems, and 2, there would be no more needs for antidepressants or anything like that. My youngest is the happiest mutt you've ever seen. He's never had a bad day in his life. So we're going to call it the Book of Bubba, right? If what you're getting ready to do makes you a better person, I don't care.
Refer to the Book of Bubba.
Yeah, or Bubba doesn't care. If what you're getting ready to say, do, or think doesn't make you a better person, our Lord and Savior, El Bubba, says it just became a rule. There we go. There's our 1-page, 2-sentence Bible. How about that?
Right? No, listen, gentlemen, they say the truth is very hard to find, but if there was ever an absolute truth, that is it. That is it. We're all looking for the truth. We're all trying to figure it out. If there is an absolute truth, that is the absolute truth. That's it.
There we go. And you know what? We can thank Bubba.
Yeah.
There we go. Here's your Lord and Savior. He will send you his Venmo, because now you owe him 10% of your income. How about that?
Yeah, you gotta type to Bubba.
You gotta
for the gospel.
Bubba needs a plane. Bubba needs a jet, so he can spread the word. Move over Kenneth Copeland and Jesse Duplantis. The new mega church preacher is El Bubba. And apparently right now there's 1, 2, 3. We're gonna count the cat. Papa's in there. I'm bad at math, so that's 6 people that are now recent converts to the Book of Bubba.
Yeah.
Peter, next time we have someone on and they're being a total asshole and they're referring to the Bible, we're going to go back to the Book of Bubba.
The Book of Bubba.
And it's not confusing, and it's modern day language, and it's a page. Everybody can do that.
Here we go. No 66 involved here.
Well,
no 5 different disciples or 10 disciples disagreeing on everything.
I have one philosophy to add to that because, and this
Yes.
is how I've led my life. If you can make a difference for someone else, that is something that can never be paid in any amount of money. If you can just make a small difference, we've had emails from people who have watched our shows, so that has happened, and some of them were pretty emotional to read.
Yeah.
So, but I think that is what makes this worthwhile. If there's only one, we could have thousands of views, but if there's only one person who feels better, and
Perfect.
I'm going to add you to the list, Erica, because
Yes, please.
I was a little bit quiet for the last part because I choked up a little because of what you said. Um, I'm a pretty emotional guy, so that happens to me a lot. Don't pay any attention to that, but
You're not
those are
alone.
the things those are the things that make this world worthwhile, and this is why we try to have these conversations. And if I can go back to what Beach Price said earlier, I I don't think you need a god. You got all the energy you need because you've already shown how much energy you have to make the world a better place. And I think that is all you need. And it's not me telling you that you need to make yourself God, because that's a ridiculous thing that Christians try to throw at us. But I mean, if you're a decent person, uh, try to convey that to others, and that is all you need, and you will get the people around you that will enforce that, and the people who
Yeah.
don't want to, they will just walk away at some point.
That's
And
so true.
but I am a little bit confused because when we started talking, you said you were newly convert to Christianity, and that was also the title of the show. I have now changed
And
it to Erica, definitely not a Christian. So, but did
sorry.
did this really happen in that short amount of time from the moment you?
Yeah. So the first day that I decided to be Christian was May 20th. I believe my son's birthday is May 21st. He just turned 18. And the few months leading up to that, I was wigging out with conspiracy theories. I was looking up on Dr. Fauci. I was like seeing what's going on in the world. I was looking at the economy and how it's crashing. I'm in finance, so I'm self-employed as well as I write. But in my self-employed work, I sell business funding. So I was seeing clients losing their businesses that they put their entire life savings into. It was breaking me to see everything fall and crumble all around me. So anyway, so all of that stuff and me just being overly sensitive, I guess. That's what brought me back again around May 20th. I want to say May 20th, and then up until it was almost exactly a month. When I wrote in your comments, I was like, you guys are gonna make me leave the religion to some girl named Ruth, who's very opinionated in your comment section. But um, I was like, people are like, you are going to make me lose the faith, and I haven't even had the chance to step into a church yet. And I'm glad now that I didn't.
I saw that.
But yeah, it was less than a month, or almost exactly a month. It was that fast. Because see, the thing is, when I do something, I get all the way into it, and I was like dedicating a lot of time, trying to. And plus, I don't want to do the wrong thing. I don't want to get into the wrong thing, and I don't want to teach the wrong thing, and I don't want to misguide myself or anybody else. So I had to be very careful, and because I went into it so hard and started sending messages. And also, Robert, my very best friend is gay, and I was sending him videos, and as I was sent them, I'm like, what the fuck am I? Oops, sorry. I was like, what am I doing? Sorry about that.
You
I
can
was
Don't-
fucking cuss on this goddamn
Don't,
show. We don't give a
don't,
shit.
don't worry.
I'm not the least bit fucking offended
No.
by fucking filthy ass shit mouth humor. So please fucking cuss your monkey ass off. I don't give a shit. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking right then.
There you go. Now you're in the spirit. There you go. Let it loose. Shit.
Yeah, no, so I was like, what the fuck am I doing sending my friend this, man? This is fucked up. because he's gay and that's what he is, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And I've always said that there's nothing wrong with it, because there's not. And when I would send him this stuff, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm sending him videos of a guy that doesn't even like him, who doesn't even like me because I'm a woman, who, and the majority of people, and I don't know that I can confirm it's the Bible itself is actually racist, but there's some questionable shit in there. And so I was like, what am I doing? Sending him that. Yeah, so you brought that up, and that made me think of that as well. I'm not going to worship a God like that. No way in heck. Hell.
You can say it. You can say it.
Yeah.
I don't want to get you guys like in trouble with YouTube or monetization or whatever.
Let me tell you something. If that was the case, P would have kicked my fucking ass off this show long ago. I'm
spiritual.
Yeah, it's but.
So words can hurt, but it's definitely the meaning behind the words and not the words itself. So people who walk away because someone uses a word they might not like, tough. This is real life. I mean, if I tell someone to fuck off, I will tell you to fuck off, and if you're offended by that, by all means.
Then you can fuck off.
But that doesn't hurt. You can hurt people in other ways, and that is what you encountered with Street Preacher Joe. That's a whole new level, and you don't need any curse words for that to hurt someone that deeply. So and that is the difference. But I'm really glad that you found out before you went all in, because I'm not saying it would have happened, but it could have been a very tough ride with your experiences, because I've seen it a lot. People want to be nice, and it's all about the God of love and love your neighbor like you love yourself, unless ... And that's the part that I have a severe issue with, because I've seen several people get really hurt.
Yeah.
And one of them was a 17-year-old girl, which I set up an entire forum to help her out. Had someone come in to monitor, because I'm in my late 50s and have to talk to a 17-year-old girl who's afraid. So I want a woman there, at least, to monitor everything that is being said, trying to help out. And the last thing I heard was that she's off to a university, found her own secular help. She can now sleep at nights. She has no problems. And she found a new community, because the woman that I brought in happened to live just a few miles away from her, and she basically adopted her. She was, I think, 7 years older, and she said, I'm going to take you along when we go out, when we go skating or go watch a movie, so you'll at least have some friends. And so that to me, that was the best experience so far.
That's amazing.
And I think that if a religion would do that, instead of frighten this girl off, because she was terrified, and she lived in a really fundamentalist community, and so the peer pressure to become a Christian, from what I remember, her mother was a deist and her father was a non-practicing Christian, and they didn't help much. So the fact that we got her some decent help, and we got her a community, I'd call that a win any day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, and
I
that.
think
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say, you guys are. If there is a such thing as God's work, you guys are doing it, and I don't see that in the Christian community. And I don't care. I'll say it. I'll stand on the mountains and scream it. You guys are doing a lot more. Christianity was messing with my mental health. I think it's a crazy maker. I think it does a lot more damage than it does good. I don't understand how somebody can believe that going into. I don't understand. I'm a mother of an 18-year-old boy. I don't understand how anybody could be okay with going into a heaven that their family didn't go into, or it wasn't allowed into, and they'd be able to be happy in that place. I wouldn't. I don't care if you erase my memory. I don't want to be there. I don't want to worship a God like that. And I think it's a very unhealthy idea to think that you're superior to somebody else and that there's a God that favors you and that God controls. It's like a club, right? And not everybody's getting into it. George Carlin said that, right? It's like a club and you ain't getting into it, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's what it's like. It's a very narcissistic, and yes, the young lady who said it's an abusive relationship, that's exactly what it is. If you've ever had a narcissistic parent, that's what God is. He's a narcissist. I'm sure that Lucifer got the bad rap, but he's probably the good guy, right? He's the one who told us the truth. He's the one who gave us the wisdom, and he recognized his own talents in heaven and got kicked out for that because he was standing up against a man. Lucifer might actually be my kind of guy. He seems like the one to stand up for the downtrodden.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so my very small piece of advice.
Don't say that.
So I think if there was a such thing as the Atheist Club or an association, I think you just earned your card. Meetings are on Wednesdays. Dues are minimal. Your first round, you have to bring the beer and the chips. But you sound just like us because I've made the exact same argument. Peter has, Lilith has, Bart. I've said this before. The best part about Christianity is that it requires zero commitment. All you have to do is say, I'm a part of the cool people's club, and you're in. Hold on, he's about to rip out my earbuds. Hold on, boy. Hold on. But yeah, you wouldn't date someone who treated you like the Christian God does. Nice. I wouldn't treat my kids like that. If my kid was sick and if I had a pill here that just suppressed the disease or had a pill here that cured it, I would give my kid the cure right away, no questions asked. But what the Christian God does holds the suppression pill right here. And then every second of every day makes you beg for the suppression pill. And he won't even let you take it. He just lets you kind of lick the side just to get you to the next day.
Yeah.
That's fucked up on a measure because apparently we're all sinful, right?
Yeah.
And we cannot not be sinful. If you die in the state of sin, you get tortured forever. And I heard the conflict. Yeah, and I heard the conflict in your voice when you brought up the eternal torment thing. You're a mom. I'm sure you've disciplined your kid in one way or another. Maybe you took away his iPad, you spanked him, you did something. But two things about punishment. One, the most important part is you should learn something from that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I caught you in a lie. Now I need you to unask those car keys. You're not driving for 2 months. Now you watch your 16, 17, 18-year-old kid go crazy because you took away some of his independence. He now knows, okay, mommy's not fucking around. If I lie, I lose a privilege. Punishment is supposed to teach you something. And I don't know which one is more important, but the second part about punishment, it should end.
Yeah.
Right? After 60 days of no driving, you sit your son down and you're like, now do you understand what I'm talking about when I tell you don't lie to mom? He says yes, you give him his car keys back. That's not punishment going to hell. That's hate. That's Adolf Hitler was more moral than the Christian God because whatever he did eventually ended. And I apologize to any of my Jewish brothers and sisters, everybody bringing that up, but the Christian God's anger never stopped.
Never.
Trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of non-stop years of eternal torment. And to hear you with the conflict in your brain that came out through your mouth when you talked about it, that's refreshing. Because I'm sure Peter will tell you, I'm sure you can tell me, you've met Christians who will sit here and tell you that's the way it works. Those are the breaks. That's morality right there. You had a chance for 70, 80 years. You pissed it away. And now you have to be tortured forever. And that's God's love.
Yeah.
And they're okay with it. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
They're okay with it. They feel like.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Peter.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm glad that you said that, because when I reached out, there was a few people I reached out to, and they were like, oh, I'm so glad you, and I'm like, hold the fuck up. You're so glad that I'm Christian now? What, you were just going to let me go to hell, this place that you believe in, and you weren't like passionately telling me. As soon as I decided to do this, I told everybody, and I'm so dumb for it, but as soon as I believed that there was a hell, well, as soon as I believed it, I was like telling everybody I love, hey, let's believe in God. Maybe this is real. Let's figure this out. And they're like, oh, yeah, I was just waiting for you to come around. No, bitch, you weren't. You were just going to let me go to hell, and you were okay with it. Like, you're a piece of shit. You Christians are terrible, because you guys, and this is a lot of them, but I have heard this come out of someone's mouth. I know that I know that I'm not going to see all my friends on the other side, and I'm okay with that. You're okay with that? Like, what? You're a terrible human being. You're a terrible human being to think that you're okay with going into the eternal Garden of Eden while your associates, people that you knew before who don't agree with your dumb opinion, have to be burned in hell forever. And that also doesn't make sense. How are they going to be burned in hell forever if they can't have eternal life? So they just get burned for a little bit. So, whatever. So annoying.
It's definitely refreshing to hear someone else say that.
Yeah. So what you said earlier, Robert. What I think is, if you're going to have to apply a punishment, what you do before is explain why there is a punishment, explain why this is unacceptable, and then have a punishment that is in any way, shape, or form equal to the wrongdoing.
Yep.
But not overdo it. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
If a child or if a kid eats something out of the fridge, they shouldn't be allowed. You don't take away the car keys for 2 weeks. You just say that's all you're going to get today, and that was it. And now we're going to have cake. So I mean, that if the punishment doesn't relate to what you did wrong, then the punishment isn't okay. And that is my biggest problem with Christianity, because for a finite crime, you get infinite punishment. And that's off. That's totally off.
But the fucked up part is that it's not even a finite crime. Like, if I see someone incredibly attractive walk across the gym or out, and I'm like, even I don't touch that person, whistle, flirt, just in my mind, I'm like, I think I want to have sex with that person.
Yeah, you're just a normal human, right?
That makes you a human. That's not a crime. There's nothing wrong with finding someone attractive.
And keep in mind that in Christianity, the Christian God created you with that desire, because otherwise you wouldn't have procreation.
Yep.
It's just how that works. If you take that away, you will never have procreation. If no one has those thoughts, then we're dying out as a species. So God intends you to have those feelings, and then tells you can't have them.
Yep.
And then no, sorry. On top of that, on top of what you gentlemen just said, it's sinful for us to lust after each other. So women, since you have the breasts and the curvy rears, you're going to have to basically walk around in trash bags all the way up to here, wear no makeup, put your hair in a bun, because you don't want to tempt your brother. You don't want to tempt your pastor who's a sexual deviant, probably. You don't want to tempt him because he cannot control himself. They really want to. It's so insane. I've seen that so many times.
That is one of the few things that really pisses me off, because when people do that, they will punish the woman for the crime of the man, and that's not.
Yes.
If you can't be a decent guy, then you need to stay away from women. Women don't need to dress up for you in a special way because you can't handle your feelings, or you can't.
Right.
I'll be tough. You can't keep your dick in your pants. Then you need to move off somewhere else, and then fuck off.
I'm pretty sure you just described Mike Pence. This is a guy, the second most powerful man in the United States, and he won't have a meeting with a woman unless mama is there.
Yeah.
And I hear that, like, the Christians are, jerking off all over themselves, saying what a righteous guy. And I'm like, dude, if you can't sit across the table from a woman and have a business meeting, without jumping her bones or pulling a Louis C.K. and jerking one in front of her, that's not commendable.
Yeah.
I spend, at least before COVID started, from the time I went to work till the time I left, all women. That's my job. I'm literally rolling around on a mat with women, and I teach them how to fight.
That's amazing. We need that. This is what we need. That's amazing.
Well, and thank you for saying that. And I have never once got a complaint that Robert made me feel uncomfortable. Robert touched me inappropriately. He said something flirtatious while he was in between my legs, teaching me what to do if I got. Never. And so just like, okay, if Mike Pence can't sit in a business suit,
have a lunch.
12 feet across from a woman talking about business, and Christians are like, man, that's fantastic. I'm like, that's not fantastic. That's fucking sad. Right?
It's psychotic. There's something wrong with you.
Well, it is.
Robert, should we do a shout out to the guy called Jesus is Lord who doesn't want to come on our show because there would be a chance that Lilith would be in here because Lilith is our Bible thumper. Lilith knows the Bible better than any of us on this show.
Well, and Lilith is our mental surgeon.
Yeah.
If you bring the Bible to the table and Lilith is on the other line, you better know your shit.
Yeah, better.
And I'd say about 5 or 6 months ago, Peter was on his show and he gave me a call to hop on. And I'm in the waiting room, and when I get on, I'm like, hey, my name's Robert. And this Jesus is Lord guy, trying to remember how it worked out. And I was like, well, we got one more coming, and it's Lilith. And as soon as he heard the name, realized this is a woman, and said something along the lines of, where's her husband? Or does her husband...
Does Lilith have a husband?
And I was like, well,
this is about as
close as you're going to get, so what do you want to say to me? And then he went on this tangent, called me like Bernie Sanders and all this. I don't know where he was going with it. I didn't even tell him my political affiliation. And then he kept going on about, he doesn't talk to women. And I was like, well, I don't talk to misogynists.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I hung up on him or if he hung up on me. But it was such a joke.
I think
can't be real.
I think so. We were all in there. Artie was in there too. Artie was the guy you met yesterday, and you met Lilith yesterday, by the way.
Oh, that's Lilith. I love her. She's amazing.
That was Lilith.
Great energy. I really like her.
Yeah,
she's great.
Yeah. So, but we were all in there, and I think I'm not sure if Lilith was in the waiting room, but we all ended up leaving, and now he's still messaging me at times. I need to come on your show. No, you don't. You can come on our show on our terms. And if Lilith is going to be my co-host, then Lilith is going to be my co-host. I have a huge respect for Lilith and have had since I discovered her on Twitter. She's one of the most amazing people I've met on social media. And if you're going to...
I can feel she's amazing.
Yeah, and if you're going to sit there and say, I'm going to come on, but you can't have Lilith on, well, fuck you. You can have your own show. I'm not talking to you. But
how interesting that this is the theme. This is what I was experiencing. This is what you gentlemen were experiencing. This is the theme of Christianity. There's no way to delude ourselves anymore. There's no way. It's what it is.
No, and the biggest problem is that Christianity in itself is on its decline. But the fundamentalists, the young earth creationists, the people who hold those views, those are on the rise, and that is why there's still work to do. I mean, it all boils down to education. I think you need to teach your children that people are equal, which brings me to something that I did forget at the start. We do have a new logo down there. Oh, it cuts off my finger. Down there. And instead of Beyond Beliefs, it says Black Lives Matter, and that's going to stay there until Robert tells me that I can take it down.
I love
because
that.
It's time people grew up and people knew that there's no race. We're one race. When I bumped into Robert, I didn't see any color. I saw a guy who whose interaction lined up with mine, thought he was a great guy, and the very first thing I did was ask him to be my co-host, and he's the oldest co-host. And
That's amazing.
sorry for everyone else,
He's
but
so-
Robert's my favorite co-host.
He's amazing. You guys are great dynamic, man. Let
What-
me tell you, I love that video. I hope you never take it down. You guys
We
don't
won't.
know how much people you're helping.
You
I
know,
love that
I'm
video.
glad you liked it. And since you said that, I think I'm actually going to go back and try and do the whole thing, because that was, again, I'm for the 11th time. I'm so glad you got something positive out of that.
Oh,
But I
man.
made it
I'm
right
so
up
glad I
until the
found it.
point we started arguing over sexual violations. I couldn't go any further. And I mean, between him and I did a debate. God, what was her name? Godless Girl.
Oh,
And again, yeah.
oh.
Well, it's that and because of those two, I now have a standing rule. I don't talk about the topic of rape to Christians, because the topic
yeah,
of rape
forget
is
it.
easy. What do you think about rape? I think rape sucks. Great. Let's go grab some beer. That should be it. Rape is not a 29-minute conversation of, well, why is raping someone bad? Well, because it hurt somebody. Well, why is hurting somebody bad? I don't know. Why don't we ask that person? Well, why is it? It's like, stop.
Yeah.
Oh, you know
Fucking
what was great?
stop. What's
No,
that?
it's true. And you guys did get frustrated because then he started spinning it into, well, everything bad happens for a reason. They can use that for a testimony. Fuck a testimony. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
And you guys had that energy, like, dude, is your brain shut off right now? Like,
Right.
what's going on in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if, I've always said this about religion. It is the worship of your own ego. Because if you
Yes.
notice, Christians and their God, they agree on everything, including the stuff they don't agree on.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much of like Joseph's and some other people's response is they actually believe, like, oh God, I'm going to bring this one up. I watched the interview between Shannon Q and G-Man. It was terrible. I've had more fun being constipated than I did listening to that interview. And they got to the point about rape, and one of the things I always bring up is what it says in Deuteronomy. And that basically it's a you break it, you buy it clause. And that if you sexually violate a virgin, you have to pay the dad, they have to get married, bam.
Yeah.
And G-Man legitimately said he wishes that rule could come back, that rape victims need to marry their rapist.
Yeah, but
And
see,
Shannon
G-Man doesn't have a woman, so
yeah,
that might just
Yeah.
just like Michael Vick doesn't own dogs anymore, right? I wonder why that is.
Oh my God.
But
although he does have an ex and he does have children who don't want to see him anymore.
Yeah,
G-Man,
thank God.
G-Man,
Keep those kids away
yes.
from him.
someone allowed G-Man to ejaculate inside of him.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Oh my God, because he was so. But I was going to ask. I wonder how much of that.
Yeah.
It breaks my brain to think about that. And that when
That's-
Abraham was sitting there saying what he was saying about rape, and it's like,
Well-
how much of that is? Do you really believe that?
No,
Or are you just working
I'm
your ass
100%.
off to be consistent?
I'm 100% convinced that Street Preacher Joe is a closet gay. If you watch him preach,
Yes. No, I
Oh,
think
God,
that too.
yeah.
I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That definitely. Have you seen his video about women and about how to find? He's like, you don't want a woman who just has a nice body. First of all, why are you talking about women's body, you Christian man? Aren't you supposed to not lust for women? He's like,
True.
you don't want a woman with a nice body who can't shut up. He hates women. He hates women.
Yeah.
And I don't think that all gay men hate women. That's not what I'm saying at all. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he has issues with who he is, and he hides behind the mask of Christianity to pretend he's somebody that he's not. And his hate, it comes out when he's street preaching, when he's bashing gay people. He bashes them the most, and it's because he's mad that they're living their truth. I
Yeah,
agree with you.
absolutely.
And if you watch his videos, you will also see that he goes after gay women a lot harder than he does after gay men. So there, I'm pretty sure that that's the thing. And people in the side chat, Beach said like Matt Powell. Yeah, I think Matt Powell is gay too. If
No question.
Who's Matt Powell?
Matt Powell is a Christian apologist, an upcoming Christian apologist. I don't know if you heard of Kent Hovind and
Steven
Anderson. He's in that group. So he's in the NIFB, the New Independent Fundamental Baptists. Those are the people who think that the U.S. government should systematically start killing gay people.
Humanely.
Because the Bible says so.
Oh my God, my heart is hurting. That somebody would even think that or say that with their mouth.
Well, Steven Anderson is now banned in 37 countries, including mine, and I'm really, really proud that we banned him before he even made plans to come here. They told him, we're going to add ourselves to the rest of the list because you're not coming here. Best video that I ever saw, and I think Lilith was the one who showed me, is where he got tased because he wouldn't listen to the police.
Yeah, that was so, like porn. I love that one. He got what he deserved.
I'm gonna have to find that. Somebody should tase him again.
Yeah.
Tase him until his brain starts working.
You know, before I forget, I got to throw this in there. There's someone else on Twitter who I met years ago. She's super nice. We've exchanged phone numbers. We've talked on the phone. We text. She's a tremendous individual who just so happens to believe in God. Now, two things about this lady. One, she has a medical license. She's all about science. And two, she has openly admitted, and the only time her belief comes into context on Twitter is when it's kind of drug out of her or it's relevant to the conversation. But she will straight up tell you, my belief in a God is not rational. She knows that, but she leans on her concept of Jesus because her concept of Jesus makes her love gay people who don't look like her. She does not believe that people like me, Peter, Lil, are going to be tortured forever simply because we were unable to be convinced by some bad evidence. And I've said it over Twitter. I'm saying it on YouTube right now. Let's just call her Susie. If Christianity was what Susie presented, my entire Twitter feed would be me bashing people who ate pineapple on pizza, picture of my dog, right? That's it. You would never hear me say a word about religious beliefs. You are like this lady to me, and I think the world of you. And we've only been talking for like 90 minutes.
And likewise.
Robert,
I think
Robert,
incredible because
we're now going to have a rant from Lilith in the side chat, right?
Oh yeah,
pineapple on pizza.
I'm already wearing my emotional cup. I know it's coming. For you,
Lilith was
Erica,
amazing. I think you all are.
again,
Lilith just said, "Erica's with me. Praise pineapple."
Oh, yes. We gotta get pizza together. I don't eat pizza anymore, but pineapple on pizza, you're insane not to like it. It's the only way. Pineapple and jalapeno. If you try it like that, you'll probably like it. There's no other way to eat pizza, guys.
let me tell you
Robert's face
absolutely, I will believe in God before I side with that opinion. And let me tell you why. One, pineapple does not belong on a pizza. That's just a scientific.
Yes,
I think Stephen Hawking proved that in one of his theories before he passed away. Two, the problem with jalapenos is
Nothing.
when you add that much heat to food, it dominates. It's like making a dirty martini. All you taste is olive juice. That's it. You're getting buzzed off of alcoholic olive juice. It takes away the flavor of either the vodka or the gin. And when you put jalapenos on a pizza, you don't get the crust. You don't get the marinara, the mozzarella, or anything else. Peppers take over everything. So I think you're incredible, but I think you're a horrible person because you eat pineapple and jalapeno.
I think this show just changed. That the title is still Beyond Beliefs, but the belief systems are now different food systems.
I don't believe her when she
My face
says.
is gonna crack.
I don't believe her when she says pineapple and jalapenos are the miracle combination. Sorry, I just
you
don't.
have to try it. It's a lot like God. You're not gonna believe it until you convince yourself by experience that it's real. So
and here's the thing,
because you believe it.
Here's the thing that because you and I just met, there's a phrase that the people in my circle know. You never tell Robert Reed he has to do something because my response is always the same. All I have to do in this world is stay black and die. Everything else is a choice. So no, I don't have to try pineapple and pepperoni, pineapple and jalapenos. That did not make its way into Louisiana, where I'm from. We don't eat that.
Oh, wait, what part of Louisiana are you from?
New Roads. You know
I
it?
want to go to New Orleans. No, I don't. I don't know anything about Louisiana.
All right, all right, so we are about an hour and 45 minutes away. If you've ever driven east to get into Louisiana, like on I-10, you've passed through, but you said you've never been. New Roads is about that big. By the time you pass through New Roads, you would have farted twice and you would have been out of the city. It's that small. And so people from New Roads, we just say we're from Baton Rouge because no one knows where the hell New Roads is. But New Roads and New Orleans is, let's just say, 2 hours away from each other. And if you haven't been, we're going to stick on Beyond Beliefs. I believe you need to go to New Orleans. It is.
I need to. I need to. You're right.
Once COVID is over and things are back up and running, one, you need to make sure your liver is healthy. You're going to get drunk.
I don't drink.
Yes, you will.
I'll eat. No, I don't. I strongly do not drink.
Not drinking in New Orleans is like going to a library and not picking up a book to read.
No, I disagree. I disagree because I don't drink. I don't drink either.
Peter, tell him, Peter.
Just the odd times, maybe once or twice a year. But Louisiana is on my bucket list, and for two reasons. One's for the food, and I want to see New Orleans just because of the architecture, and that's it. And the music obviously, because going from one club to another, figuring out all the kinds of music that's there, I really want that.
It is all fantastic.
I met a couple of people in the music industry who have told me I definitely need to go there before I die. I need to go see that. So
yes, you do.
Do you play any music? Do you play any instrument?
No. So before I did this, and now I'm going to lose the entire side chat and everyone watching. And before I did this, I was in the Dutch country music scene. So in the Dutch country music scene.
Oh, cool! That's really cool.
I met a couple of people from the U.S. I think the biggest name that I've ever talked to is Dwight Yoakam, and I'm still, despite everything, I'm still a fan of Dwight Yoakam because that's.
Who's that? Okay, I'll look it up.
Dwight Yoakam is a guy who mixes up country with a lot of modern music, with a lot of Elvis Presley.
No way! I'm gonna have to check him out.
And I am told, I'm not an expert, but I am told that every woman melts when he's on stage, because
he's that good, huh?
he can move, and as long as he keeps his hat on, he looks good. If he takes his hat off, that's a different story.
That's kind of has a high school principal haircut thing going.
Yeah, and he's also. He's also an actor, and when he acts, he usually has the role of the psychopath, and he can play that perfectly.
Oh no way! That's awesome. I love psychological thrillers. I love that dark stuff. Those movies, those artistic movies. I'm gonna have to check them out.
Well, I forgot the title of the movie. I'll look it up after we go offline. I'll look it up for you.
Yeah,
there-
please. Thank
there's
you.
there's one movie where he's definitely the biggest asshole on the planet, and it's
No
a
way.
really good
What
movie too.
yoga?
So I'll have to
Okay.
look it up. But we've come to an hour and a half, so I really wanna wrap it up. We do have a terrible problem now because during the show we learned you're not a Christian anymore. Usually we say to our guests, you get
Sorry,
a
guys.
second show where you can
That's
ask
fine with
us
me.
questions, but I'm not sure if you would have any questions. You'll get the offer to come back and where you decide the topic. That would, I think,
Yes.
would be a great show. If there's anything you want to talk about, but we'll do
I
that.
would.
You'll be the first one to come on Beyond Beliefs, and for the second show you will come on our atheist show, which is Herding Cats. So, and yeah, think of a topic and come back and let's have another
Yeah,
topic.
I
I
want to
would
do
love to talk to you again. I would
Yeah.
love
wanna
to
do
talk
it,
to you
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I would love it too. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's
So
do the cat thing.
so we have a deal. Okay. So do you have any closing arguments about the show? About
I
yourself?
want to say, I want to say, keep doing what you're doing. Don't take that video down. Speak loud. Speak loud. Speak loud. Speak loud. I don't care how many haters. A lot of those people in your comments are just Joseph Abraham and his little minions, anyways. Everybody needs to hear you. Please, 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 please keep spreading your message because it's helping people that you'll never even know it helps. It definitely helped me in a way that you guys don't know. Christianity was making me mental. It was literally messing with my mental health. So I appreciate you guys. You guys are doing the real God's work, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart and soul. Genuinely.
Thank you, Erica.
Well,
Thank you very much.
that's huge. That's huge. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, stick around until after the outro, and we'll have a brief chat after
Okay.
that. Robert,
Awesome.
thanks for joining as always.
Always,
It's been a
always,
pleasure.
always.
Bye, Robert.
And Erica, thanks for dropping by. This was amazing.
Bye.
Okay, catch everyone later.
See you, everybody.
There are a few
See ya.
guests coming, so keep an eye on the Twitter account, and you'll know when we'll have another guest. Catch you all later. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.